All right. Today we have on Naveen Jain. Naveen is the CEO of Sparkart Group Inc., where they develop and maintain and monetize websites, for entertainers such as Lil Wayne, Drake, Bon Jovi, and even non-entertainers like the behemoth Microsoft. They're also trying to access the sports and tech world as well. Naveen, welcome.
Thank you, David. Thanks for having me.
Now, the purpose of this interview is to just get the perspective of somebody who deals with entertainers and athletes and just people that we would think have business nous, if you will, and just showing some of his perspectives. What's it like working with somebody like Drake or Lil Wayne or even Bon Jovi, who's for more of the, let's just say, an older generation?
So we work with Lil Wayne. We do work with Drake, but we do work with Lil Wayne and Young Money. So his site is youngmoney.com. And of course Bon Jovi and other artists like The Killers and Keith Urban and even some sports-related franchises like Ultimate Fighting Championship and America's Cup. And you know, they're all business people. And they're obviously very passionate about what they're doing, regardless of whether it's Lil Wayne or whether it's Bon Jovi. And, you know, the web and all of the stuff that we do is really a conduit for them in terms of how they communicate with their fans. So we look at it as we're basically a bridge for them in terms of allowing them to have the best relationship possible with their fan base.
Before we did the interview, I went onto Sparkart.com and I looked at the American Cup website. It was pretty cool. Pretty interactive, and it has this nice user. It's very easy on the eyes, I guess is the best way of saying it.
Well, thank you. We're very proud of the work that we've done with America's Cup. Obviously, you know, America's Cup is going to be a very big deal here in the San Francisco Bay Area and worldwide this summer. So yeah, americascup.com is a site that we designed and developed with them, and it's running on our Storyteller platform, and we're very, very proud of it.
Cool. Now, take us back to the early days. Where did you get the idea for Sparkart?
Well, so, you know, I was kind of a lost soul. You know, growing up, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So Sparkart was only supposed to be a stopgap. You know, I dropped out of Purdue. I was going to school at Santa Rosa Junior College. And the idea was, you know, really just to design and develop some websites, for folks on the side. Really, that was all it was supposed to be. And so the way it started was, you know, I had a opportunity that actually my mom had connected me with. There was a local business in Novato, you know, California, just north of San Francisco, that needed some web development work. And I took the meeting, and they ended up deciding that they really liked me and our approach, and they ended up hiring us. And I basically used that money from that first contract as our startup capital for the business. So that's kind of, you know, sort of the origin of Sparkart. And then from there, you know, we did really great work for them, and, you know, through word of mouth, other people sort of found out a little bit about what we were doing, and we sort of built the business brick by brick from there.
Cool. So your mom got you your first client. That's pretty humble beginning.
Absolutely. You know, my parents were both entrepreneurs, and frankly, I owe absolutely everything to them. You know, they came from India, and they did absolutely everything and anything they could for both me and my younger brother. So, and that includes helping us figure out or identify our first client at Sparkart.
What are some of the things that they taught you guys, or some of the values or lessons that you learned from your parents, just as far as perspective or entrepreneurship?
You know, I really learned the value of hard work from I mean, my father, you know, businesses. He had a group of check cashing stores and a small tax practice, and you know, 1, 2, you know, as 3 in the morning, as late as he had to be up, just to get things done and make sure that his businesses were successful. You know, and I also learned all about the ups and downs. I mean, not everything is easy street. There are many times where you have to buckle down and, you know, just deal with any curveballs that are thrown your way. And you have to be fearless. You have to really have faith in yourself. So those are, you know, some of the many things that I learned from just watching them and seeing them, you know, build their businesses over time.
Good. When did you start to get traction in, dare I say this, the celebrities or the more well-known clients that you have right now?
Yeah, so I think that everyone has their own kind of luck. My luck happens to be the people that I'm so fortunate to meet, or the things that sort of happen just serendipitously that sort of, you know, drive us forward. So, for example, the way that we signed our first client in the entertainment space was I went to a rock concert in San Francisco at the Warfield. It was a rock band called A Perfect Circle, and outside there were some kids handing out cassette tapes. There were street teamers handing out cassette tapes to promote new bands. And one of the cassette tapes that I picked up that evening was for the rock band Linkin Park. And you know, I listened to the cassette tape. There were only, you know, 2 or 3 songs on the tape. It's a sampler tape. And I became a huge fan of Linkin Park. So I went home and I did a Who Is on their domain. And there was a phone number in the Who Is record that was actually a real phone number. And I called the number, and it was Brian Bennington, who's Chester Bennington's brother, actually answered the phone. And I sort of pitched them on all the things that we were doing at Sparkart. And he offered to send any spec work that we did onto you know, Chester and Mike Shinoda. Mike is, you know, the MC and obviously the producer, you know, or co-producer, for Linkin Park. Incredible musician. So we did that. We did some spec work, and, you know, we presented it to Brian, and he forwarded it on to Mike, and Mike happened to really like it. And so they invited us out to, their show, in San Francisco. They were actually opening for another rock band called Orgy, believe it or not. And it was a 21 and up show, and I was 19 at the time, so Mike actually had to help me get into the venue without the bouncer checking my ID. And you know, they agreed, you know, basically right there, the band, I got to meet the whole band, and you know, they wanted me to meet their manager, but you know, we ended up working with them basically starting at that point. So that's, you know, how we ended up starting to work with Linkin Park, which of course went on to be one of the biggest rock bands of the last, you know, 10, 15 years. You know, I think they've sold north of, you know, 40 or 50 million records at this point, something like that. So, you know, that was obviously a rocket ship start for us, because, you know, Linkin Park was huge. So we were responsible for all of their sort of digital activities, everything from Linkin Park Underground, their fan club, to linkinpark.com. And we worked directly in partnership with you know, Mike, Brad, Chester, and the rest of the band and management to really do as many things as we could to really build a very strong connection between the band and their fans. And that was really the whole tenet of everything we did. Everything we did with Linkin Park was about their relationship with their fans, which, you know, really was incredible. They truly super serve their fans in every way they can. So obviously the work that we did for Linkin Park got a lot of notice, and we ended up getting calls from other managers and record companies that wanted to hire us. So we ended up working with a bunch of artists from that point forward, and that was, you know, effectively our start in the music business.
Just a side note, just to make sure I heard that correctly. Cassette tapes, not demo CDs or anything. This is cassette tapes back in the 90s.
No, it was a cassette tape. That's absolutely correct.
Wow. That's cool though, because that shows that they were, let's just say that was their minimum viable product, and they were hustling it too. So that's pretty cool. What are some of the cool, innovative things that you guys do for your clients on your website?
Yeah, so today we have we think is a relatively unique perspective on how we approach building these websites for our clients. So one of the sort of things that's unique about what we do is we've built a platform, as I referenced it earlier, it's called Storyteller, that allows our development team to build websites using content and functionality from any third-party service. So the idea there was, instead of having sort of all of the content for any of our clients in one content management system, we can sort of pull content from any number of content sources out there. And the reason that is important is because at this point, when you're creating content online, you're not just creating content for your own site, you're creating content for many other third-party platforms, whether it's platforms like Facebook or Twitter, or you're posting photos on something like Instagram or Flickr, you're maybe posting video on YouTube, for example. Those are all third-party platforms, and they're all effectively their own mediums. And all of those platforms have APIs that you can use to pull content and display and present that content in almost any way you want. So our thought process was, well, if someone is going to take the time to post content on any of those third-party platforms, and that's really where their customers in general are living, then why not allow them just to double down their effort on posting on those third-party platforms, and all the content that appears on their website will sort of just appear naturally through, through the API, through however we're manipulating the data that's coming from those third-party services. And then obviously we can present that data any way that the client wants us to. So we can design it to look like almost anything they want. So that's kind of a unique approach in our business, because most people think about building sites on top of a single content management system. So they'll say, okay, I'm going to build my site on Drupal or on WordPress or on any other content management system. But the challenge with that is, those systems, don't really evolve very quickly necessarily. So you end up in a situation where if you want to pull content from those third-party services, it's actually fairly complex to do that because they don't have sort of built-in integration. So you have to do that work yourself. So you may not be able to leverage all the work that you're doing on those third-party platforms to the benefit of your own site, which we think doesn't make any sense. If you're going to go and do the work on the third-party platforms, you might as well leverage, that content to your own benefit on your own site. The other reason why we think this is important is because all those third-party platforms tend to be very focused. So, yes, Instagram just launched video today, but in general, their focus is on photos. YouTube, obviously, their focus is on video. So their entire development team, their entire business practice is focused on that single feature. Discuss focuses on comments. So, it's very difficult for sort of an all-in-one content management solution to compete with a bunch of very focused third-party platforms. So, you can harness that focus from those third-party platforms and deploy that focus on your own site, and then you end up with something that is probably closer to best of breed than, almost anything you can build on an all-in-one solution. So that's just one example of something that we do that is, as I said, at least from our perspective, somewhat different than what other folks do in our field. Another thing that we pay very close attention to is we're very data-driven. So we really pay very close attention to what elements of our client sites are performing best. And we actually track things on a platform basis. So, we can sort of apply our best practices and our learnings to the benefit of, every client that we work with. So we don't really view development of a website as sort of really an art project. We view it as, yes, we focus on designing a beautiful interface, an experience, a product, but we do it from a data-driven perspective. We use all of our best practices to our advantage and to our clients' advantage. So those are just two things that I think are unique about Sparkart.
Wow, that storytelling seems very it just makes sense. I wouldn't have thought of it, don't get me wrong, but it just makes sense.
Well, we're very blessed. We have an incredible team at Sparkart. Eric Leonard is our chief product officer, and Storyteller was his vision. So, and he has an incredible team working on it today. So, really, it's his vision, and we're fortunate to have him and his team and our whole team on board at Sparkart, doing what they do.
Now, what's your future? Where do you see Sparkart? I don't know if it's more so in the market, or what type of clients are you going after in the future?
So Sparkart is interesting in that, clearly it's a bit more than just your typical digital agency. Really we view Sparkart as kind of an ecosystem. We make investments, so, we have a portfolio of startups that we're really excited about and thrilled to be working with. Clearly, we're building some of our own products in-house. And obviously, we're working with a really incredible group of clients that trust us to develop and deliver high-quality solutions for them and their customers. So, really Sparkart is an ecosystem, and where we can, we sort of blend those things together. So obviously, we love deploying Storyteller on behalf of our clients when it makes sense to, but our clients don't necessarily have to use Storyteller if they don't think it makes sense. And of course, if we can connect some of our startups to some of our clients, then, obviously we certainly facilitate those introductions where it makes sense for both parties.
Now that brings up the next question. You're also an angel investor. How'd you get into that?
So, I love working with other entrepreneurs. It's one of my favorite things to do, and it really comes down to how we can help them. If investing and showing that putting our money where our mouth is part of how we can add value to what that other entrepreneur is trying to do, then we're more than happy to do that if we believe, if we have conviction in what that entrepreneur is doing. So that's really how we look at investments. We don't look at it at investments as, okay, we have X amount of capital and we have to deploy it over Y amount of time, and let's just create a giant deal funnel. And, let's sort of look at it from a very sort of institutional basis. That's not at all our approach. Our approach is more about when we're so fortunate to meet a really incredible entrepreneur that, feels like a good fit for us, then we really sort of think about how we can really help them. And that's really sort of where the investment, may come into play.
How do you evaluate startups? Just as far as this seems like a nice startup to possibly entertain investment.
Yeah, sure. So, the number one challenge for startups, from our experience and from our knowledge, is really customer acquisition. How are they going to acquire customers? What does it cost for them to acquire a customer? And then, of course, what is the retention and what is the lifetime value of every customer they bring to bear? So we really really try to understand how the customer acquisition process works for every startup that we get involved in. We feel like that's really important. And then we look at the team. Is the team a force of nature? Are they going to will their business to be? Is this what they are truly passionate about and truly focused on? And are they going to be able to stick with it through the ups and downs? Are they going to spend every last iota they have of themselves on this opportunity to make it successul? Because that's really what it takes to build a great business, right? It's not just you wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to go build a company. It's something you've been just thinking about it, and it's so deep for you that you're losing sleep over it. It's all you can think about. It's all consuming. So those are some of the things that, some of the key things we look for. And then, of course, the team makeup is also really important, the team dynamic. How do the team members sort of relate to each other? How do they get along? How do they meet? How long have they known each other? Is it a shotgun wedding, or, how do they have some experience working together? And what is each team member bringing to the table? And then how does that relate to their vision and what they're actually trying to build? Do they have the right players to at least develop a high quality MVP, so that they can really test whether their idea makes sense? So those are just, some of the things that we look at in terms of, our investment strategy.
What are some of the, after hearing that, what are some of the cooler or, let's say, trendier types of startups that I've seen recently?
So, trendy. Well, I don't know. I feel like,
I guess when I say trendy, when I say trendy, I mean like you can see that with how you evaluate them and the either the market or the ease of them acquiring customers, like you said, they're like, wow, they're onto something. I guess that's a better way of framing that.
Yeah, so I can tell you about a few of the projects that we're really excited about now. So, we're advising a new company called SMGO, and their whole vision is to crowdfund canceled TV shows. They have incredible traction. So basically what they're taking advantage of is, really, sort of something that's missing in the, I don't know what you want to call it, TV system, so the idea of creating a show, putting the show on TV, syndicating that show, and then, if the show gets canceled, what do you do with all that passion that you've built up, across that fan base that you've developed with that show? And, right now, frankly, the answer is pretty much nothing. So SMGO, enters that sort of gaping hole and offers a really amazing opportunity to the passionate fans of those shows. They say, hey, look, why don't we crowdfund another season together? And we'll go work with the rights owners and the producers and the actors, actresses, everyone involved in that production. And if we can raise enough money together, we can bring the show back. And believe it or not, people love this idea, and people absolutely love it. They are so committed, so passionate about some of these TV shows that they are willing to do absolutely anything they possibly can to bring them back. So, when I say traction, the amount of traffic they've received for literally spending $0 on customer acquisition is pretty remarkable. And then the engagement that they have with those customers, those users, is also remarkable. So that's an example of a startup that we're pretty excited about. Another startup that's in our portfolio that we're really excited about is a company called Gift, GYFT. So they have, in our obviously biased opinion, the best app for your iPhone or Android for managing all of your gift cards. So if you get a gift card, I don't know about you, but for me, I think gift cards are a total pain in the ass, because someone gives me a gift card and then it ends up invariably in, a closet somewhere in our house. We actually have a shoebox or a little, hanging sort of, hanger kind of thing where we store all of our gift cards at our home. And then when we're out shopping, we always forget to bring the gift cards. So they just sit there and rot. Or we get them for stores that, we don't really shop at. So then what do you do with those gift cards? So Gift is pretty much the ultimate solution for that challenge. You can, install the app. It's free. You load the app on your phone. You can enter all of your gift cards in. They have real-time integrations with hundreds of retailers, so you can actually get real-time balance information. That's another pain with gift cards is, on the physical card, you never know how much is left on the card. So with Gift, they solve that problem. And in many cases, you can just jettison the physical card because on the Gift app itself, they actually, based on your, the barcode number and key number from the gift card, they can actually display the barcode on your screen on your device. So you can have all of your gift cards with you at all times. And then, now with Gift, you can also buy gift cards, right from the application. So if there's, gift card you really want to buy for a friend or it's someone's birthday or whatever, you can buy that gift card directly from Gift. You can even use Bitcoins to buy gift cards on Gift. So if you're someone who's got a Bitcoin balance and you're trying to figure out how to convert that over to something you can actually spend at the majority of stores, Gift is a platform that would allow you to do that. So that's another company that we're really excited to be working with, and really proud of their team. They've really done an incredible job. And then another one is we're working with another new company called Pigeonly that it has truly remarkable traction as well. So what they're doing is they're disrupting the relationship between folks in prison and people on the outside. That's a whole another conversation to be had. But there's millions of people in the prison population. I believe the number is something like, north of 2 million people are incarcerated at any given time in the United States, which sounds totally ridiculous, but that's also another conversation. And with Pigeonly, their first product is called Photo Pigeon, and Photo Pigeon allows you to send photos to any prisoner, and they actually track the current location of that prisoner, which is actually a big challenge because oftentimes prisoners are moved from facility to facility, and friends and family lose track of where their loved one or friend may be. And they've also have a unique business model. So instead of charging several dollars to send a photo, for example, to someone in prison, they only charge, I believe it's $1. So they charge a much smaller amount of money, so you can send a much larger number of photos and therefore build a deeper connection with that person that you care about in prison. And so what's amazing about it is it's become like a word of mouth machine. Prisoners are telling other prisoners about it. Friends and family on the outside are telling other friends and family about it. And they're just totally growing like wildfire, and it's really amazing to see that. So those are three projects that we're working on that we're really excited about.
That's pretty cool. Now I talked to a lot of athletes, and I played with a lot of athletes who wanted to start a business or a startup or just something cool like that. That's always cool to build something from scratch that makes you money, right? What are some of the things that you see? I don't want to necessarily call it advice. But what are some of the things that you see that could help athletes, whether they're playing or they're retired, to transition into entrepreneurship and startup culture?
Well, if an athlete wants to set up a tech startup or wants to be involved in the tech community specifically, I think one of the first things they should do is learn how to code. They should use a platform like Codecademy or take a class, maybe something at General Assembly. They should learn how to code because it's like learning the rules of the game, whatever game they played. the objective isn't necessarily for them to become a developer, or although, obviously they certainly could become one. But the idea is more to learn how technology works at a fundamental level. Because the more you understand about how the technology works, the better decisions you can make in terms of building your business. It also will enable you to work more closely with your development team, your front-end development team, your back-end development team, if you have at least some idea of what they're really doing behind the scenes and some of the challenges they're facing. The more you can relate to what they're doing, the better the better team you're going to build in terms of everyone being on the same page with you and the vision you're trying to execute on. Another thing that I think athletes should really try to do is they should try to stay focused. They shouldn't get involved with too many projects at once. I think that a lot of athletes, just like any other celebrity, they sort of get pitched things all the time, 24 hours a day, whether it's friends, family, business associates, or just people they meet, whether they're at a conference or anything else. Everyone has a preconceived notion about what it means to be a professional athlete, and they look at them as either, frankly, customer acquisition targets for themselves, or investment, opportunities for themselves, et cetera. So, I think, athletes, if they want to get involved in tech, should really be very, very focused. Really try to do one or, no more than really two things at one time. Otherwise, it's very easy to get distracted, and then if you're not focused, just like when you're playing your sport, if you're not focused, then you're not going to be the best at what you do. Another thing that I think athletes should try to do is they should try to get other people's money in play. I think it's very easy for, especially a successful professional athlete, to invest a lot of their capital into their projects. I think they should work really hard to get external validation. And even if it's not really about the money, it's really about the external validation, because what you really are looking for is other people who you respect in the community to look at your idea, look at your MVP, look at your business plan, whatever you have, whatever stage you're at, and say, hey, you know what? I really buy this. I think you're onto something really cool. And hey, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. Let me come in and help you, and let me invest in your vision. Because then it's sort of a risk mitigation strategy, frankly, from a financial standpoint, but it's also a risk mitigation strategy from a vision and project standpoint. And then the final thing is, and I think most athletes don't have any challenge with this, but just be fearless. I mean, if you don't know something, just go learn it. That's one of the most important things about, one of the most important attributes of most successful entrepreneurs that I meet, is that they are absolutely fearless. If they don't know how to do something, they will go learn it, or they will go find the best person in their network who is a master at that and work with them. And that's how athletes, I think, should approach, setting up a startup of their own.
I was expecting one piece of advice, but they're like five. That's great. Wrapping it up, what are some of your future goals? Personally, not necessarily Sparkart, but what are some of your future goals?
Yeah, so, we're really focused on projects that can make a big impact. So, and big impact, not just change for change's sake, but really projects that give back, because we're very fortunate living in the San Francisco Bay Area, and being able to do what we do, and we really want to find ways to do things that create opportunities for less fortunate people, or solve challenges that are sort of more macro in nature. So to us, some people call that social entrepreneurship. Some people call it philanthropy. Some call it, whatever. Call it whatever you will. But that's something that's really important to me personally. And, we've got, a project or two, in our lab today that we're working on that, sort of fit those objectives. So I think that's a very big priority for us going forward.
Awesome. Where can we find you and Sparkart online?
Sure, Sparkart.com, or you can follow us on Twitter at Sparkart. I'm Naveen Spark on Twitter. So those are 3 great places to follow us and follow me.
Cool. Naveen, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me, David.
All right. Thanks for being a part of it.